Earth started to move and different continents started to form. Then after different continents started to form, you know what happened next? Antarctica. And before Antarctica was a cold wasteland. It used to be a luscious, beautiful jungle, so they didn't really mind it at all, but when it started to get cold and snow started to engulf the whole continent, people started to realize, hey, this is kind of difficult to live in. And they're used to being cold, and after all, Mars is far away from the sun, but they weren't used to the snow, so they started to freeze. And once they started to freeze, billions and millions started to die. They couldn't keep on living on, Mars like this. They were gonna die. So they started to scavenge out on different colonies and different continents. And because of the climate change, they started to morph to different beings. And that's what formed animals. But then why don't we know anything about these ancient Mars humans, right? Well, the reason why is because they live deep in Antarctica, nowhere where human life can prosper. They can't live that deep because, since they couldn't live near the cold, they had to move to the warm, the hot. And, well, if an average human were to go down, then they would melt within an instant. Huh. Are you listening to me? Okay. Let me continue. So, the humans, I mean, well, you could call them humans too, since, well, they're a subspecies of humans. Well, you could say we're a subspecies of Morphins. But, you know, at this point, they're basically a mush, they're a liquid, and even if you did see them, you'll think nothing of it. Yet, they're a sentient being with all the knowledge of the universe. They know everything, yet they can't tell you anything. Oh, now this is where the stuff starts to get juicy.
Juicy.
Now the government, of course the government knows about this. They've known about this for a long time. But, they need to hide it somehow because what are humans gonna know if all the science, all the knowledge that we've collected was fake? So, they decide to create the moon. Yup, that's right. You know how the moon landing was like a theory and propaganda, you know what I mean? People were like, hey, the moon landing, maybe what if it was fake? Well, guess what? Keep, you know, it wasn't the people online that started to think it was fake. It was the government that made the theory up that the moon landing was fake to cover up the fact that we are a subspecies of people on Mars. Okay? Now, why would they do this? Well, for one, it's to divert our knowledge and our thinking into a different subject. Because this is when people started to catch on, This is when people started to think, hey, isn't it a bit strange how, the universe and Big Bang all happened and we're perfectly alive and that's still a mystery. Us being a subspecies of Morphins doesn't solve that, but it's still kind of interesting to think about. But, you know, it's kind of strange how all the the science and all the thinking we've done result into nothing. So that's why they created it. Now, scientists and the government have teamed up to create, a sort of a graph to show what would happen if if humans, us, were to find out that we were subspecies of Morphins. And you're not gonna believe what happened. The first hour in, humans were going to panic. Who wouldn't, man? But after going into panic, they start to theorize. And after theorizing, this is when stuff starts to get heated. But I don't think you guys are ready for this. Hold on.